Have you ever noticed something? Some people count down the days to their birthday. They plan it, look forward to it. They want to be remembered. But others almost ignore it completely. No party, no posts. They don't even mention it. It just passes like any normal day. Most people think they're cold or that something is wrong. But here's the interesting part. Psychology tells a very different story. And it's not as simple as you think. You might have said this before. It's just another day. But is it really? Or behind that indifference is a very specific way of protecting yourself. And here's the real question. Why do some people need birthdays to feel seen while others don't need that at all? You wake up on your birthday. No cake, no special plans. No sense of anticipation. You reply to a few messages, then you put your phone down and continue your day like nothing changed. Nothing feels different. Nothing feels missing. Even if no one mentions it, it doesn't really matter. Sound familiar? A lot of people live like this every single year, and they're completely okay with it. But the people around them see it differently. They think you're sad. They think you're lonely. Or worse, they think you're pretending you don't need anyone. But here's the truth. That explanation might be completely wrong, because not everyone who is quiet is lacking something, and not everyone who doesn't celebrate feels empty. So the real question is, why do some people not need birthdays to feel valuable? Is it emotional detachment or something deeper? A higher level of self-awareness. And if you're one of them, what does that say about how you see the world and yourself? There's a certain type of person. They don't hate birthdays, but they don't look forward to them anymore. It usually starts early. When you were younger, you had expectations. You thought people would remember. You thought they would celebrate you. Maybe a small party, or at least feeling cared for. But reality didn't match that. Friends forgot, family got busy. No one paid as much attention as you hoped. And it didn't just happen once. It repeated, year after year. Each time, your brain learned something. Expectations lead to disappointment. And after enough repetition, you changed. You stopped feeling excited. Stopped expecting. You started telling yourself, I don't need it. It's just another day. It sounds mature, but really, it's adaptation. In psychology, this is called learned helplessness. When you go through too many moments of not being met, you stop trying. Not because you don't want to, but because part of you believes it won't change anything anyway. And this doesn't just affect birthdays. It affects your emotions, your expectations, your connections. You keep everything low. Less expectation, less hope, less disappointment. And slowly, your birthday stops being special. It becomes safe. No highs, no emotional risks. Just another day. Maybe you've felt this before. You told yourself, if no one remembers, it's fine. But deep down, there was a part of you that wanted someone to remember. And when that part was ignored for too long, you learned to shut it off. Not because you don't care, but because caring once hurt you. And here's what most people miss. That indifference is not who you are. It's something you learned. A quiet way to protect yourself from being disappointed again. Because sometimes the easiest way to not get hurt is to expect nothing at all. But not everyone is like that. There's another group of people who don't celebrate birthdays for a completely different reason. Not because they're sad, but because they're too busy. Their life is always moving. Deadlines, work, responsibilities. There's always something to do, and their mind never stops either. always processing, always thinking ahead, always moving forward. And when that goes on long enough, something starts to happen. Days begin to blur together. Monday feels like Tuesday. Wednesday feels like Friday. Everything becomes one continuous stream. No highlights, no separation. In psychology, this is called time blindness. It's not that you don't know the date, you just don't feel it, because your brain is overloaded. When your mind is flooded with pressure and information, it prioritizes survival. It keeps only what's necessary. Everything else fades. And your birthday is no longer a priority. Maybe you've experienced this. You wake up, check your phone, realize it's your birthday. But instead of feeling special, you just think, okay, and? You still have work, still have messages, still have problems to solve. The day doesn't stop for you, and you don't stop for it. Over time, your brain treats special days like normal ones, not because they don't matter, but because you don't have the mental space to feel them. And this is what many people miss. Emotions need space. They need time. They need attention. But when your schedule is full, your brain has no room to feel, only to function. And when you live like that for too long, you lose connection with moments that should feel special. Not just birthdays, but everything else too. A gathering, a day off, a meaningful moment, they all feel the same. You're not numb. You're overloaded. But here's the problem. When every day feels the same, even the most meaningful ones become ordinary. And that's when you start to wonder, when was the last time I truly felt a special day? Most people assume if someone doesn't celebrate their birthday, something must be missing. Attention, connection, joy. But the truth is, there's another group entirely. They're not lacking anything. They just don't need it. They don't need wishes to feel valuable. They don't need gifts to feel loved. They don't need a special day to prove they exist. For them, a birthday is no longer a source of emotion. It's just a marker. And here's the interesting part. When you stop depending on external validation, everything changes. You no longer measure your worth by how many people remember you or how many messages you receive. You start measuring it from within. In psychology, this connects to something important, self-determination theory. It suggests true fulfillment doesn't come from outside. It comes from three simple things: a sense of control over your life, a sense that you're growing and capable, and a quiet satisfaction with who you are. When you have these, you don't need an event to feel okay. You don't need one day a year to remind you that you matter, because you already know it, every single day. You've probably met people like this. They don't show off, they don't seek attention, they don't try to prove anything, but they are steady, calm, and quietly confident. And here's a small revelation. Not celebrating your birthday isn't always a sign of lack. Sometimes it's a sign of emotional independence, a level where you no longer need the outside world to define who you are. You just know. My value isn't tied to one day, and it's not in other people's eyes. It's in how you live, every single day. And when you truly believe that, a birthday is no longer something you wait for to feel important. When you step back and look at all of this, the picture becomes clearer. People who don't celebrate birthdays don't all share the same reason. It's a combination of things. Maybe they once expected and learned not to. Maybe life made them too busy to feel anything special. Or maybe they've reached a place where they no longer need external validation. 3 different paths leading to the same behavior, treating a birthday like a normal day. And here's the key insight. The same behavior does not mean the same inner world. Some are protecting themselves, some are overwhelmed, and some have truly grown emotionally. These people are often independent. They don't need the spotlight. They don't need a day to feel seen. They find value within, and they create meaning, not once a year, but every single day. But there's a thin line here between growth and shutting down your ability to feel, between peace and isolation. So the real question isn't whether you celebrate your birthday or not. It's this: why? And maybe when you understand that, you'll understand yourself on a much deeper level. So, treating your birthday like a normal day is not always indifference. Sometimes it's a sign of change. A person who no longer needs too much attention, who no longer needs a special day to feel meaningful. They've learned to stand on their own, to validate themselves, to live without needing reminders that they matter. But at the same time, there's another possibility, that somewhere in the past, they once expected a lot and then learned to stop. Not because they didn't need it, but because they didn't want to be disappointed again. So here's the real question. When you look at yourself, what do you see? Do you truly not need validation, or have you just learned not to expect it? If you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe and start understanding yourself a little deeper.